just to see and do things.
Yeah, it was very neat. Where are you at in New Jersey?
Kingsburg, Monmouth County. I'm like right across from New York City. I can see New York City from my house.
Okay. Well,
I'm
that's
right on
cool
the
too.
Jersey Shore.
Nice. You know George from Lynn's group?
Oh yeah, George makes his own legs. Me and George I got his cell phone number. Me and George are awesome. He's an awesome guy, George.
He's a great guy. You're right about that.
Yeah,
Yep,
he's
I
down
love
in
him.
Florida right now. He's in
Yep,
Florida right now.
yep. He usually comes to our Space Coast amputee meeting. He didn't make this
Okay.
last one for some reason, but
I couldn't make that on Zoom. Do you know Mark then? Mark that
oh,
runs it, or Mark?
yep. Mark and I used to work at Harris together, actually.
Okay, yeah, I know Mark too. Yeah, I do Lynn's group. I do Andre's group. I do quite a few groups. I do like almost a group every night with amputees.
Got to keep
Yeah,
in it, right?
there's a lot out there.
Yep, that's for sure.
But yeah, I like George, man. George, I can't believe he's like 87 years old, makes his own prosthetic leg. He
Yep,
rides a bike and everything. I'm like, at 87 years old, man, that guy's got it.
he does, man. And you know what keeps him going is being so active. That keeps you young, man.
Yeah. That's what he always says. He shows us where he lives. He's got all these pull-up bars over his door, does pull-ups every
Yep,
morning.
yep. He's out of control. That's for sure. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Nate.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Steve.
Cool. And who else do we have here?
Right now it's just two people and the people that run it, you guys.
Right. So we know. So we've met Steve before. We've seen you a lot, which is awesome.
Yeah. Wait. Where's my New Year's resolution? Where's Bear?
Bear couldn't come today.
Bear's at home.
Yeah, I asked the girls last month about him. They were like, "Well, we're not in the same office as Bear." They said, "Don't let Bear know that I said hello."
Oh,
Yeah. So the other gentleman, what's your name?
I'm no gentleman, but thanks for that. My name is Sean.
Hi, Sean. How you doing?
Doing great, man. How about you?
Great. Yeah, we're excited about kind of sitting down and chatting a little bit today. So I know Steve already has met us before, kind of a few different times. I guess we'll kind of go through and we'll introduce ourselves. My name's Nate Capa. I'm a certified prosthetist with Bremer Prosthetics here in Michigan. And this is...
I'm Scott Baronic. I'm a certified prosthetist. I'm also a below the knee amputee.
Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
So what brings you to our meeting today?
I just wanted to see what kind of information there is out there. I'm fairly new. I've only been an amputee for about 2 years, and I have an Ozer knee, and I hate it. So I wanted to see what else we had going on. I'm trying to look at getting the power knee, so I just wondered what else was out there.
Sure. So is your prosthesis, is this the first prosthesis that you've had, or have you had?
No, that's the first one, yeah.
The first one that you've had? Socket and all? So just the fitting up top, the part that goes on your body. Have you had been refit, or is it just the very first altogether?
Everything's the first. I mean, I had the test leg, the test socket, but this is when they built this one. That's the first one I had. And what I don't like about it is the knee buckles very easily. They gave me some high-speed, low-drag knee for like an athlete. My fat ass is definitely not an athlete. So I want something that's going to be a little more stable so I feel more comfortable when I walk. I only use my leg to get into the bathroom, to get into the shower. Then I take it off and go back in my wheelchair for the rest of the day. So I'm ready to get back out there and live life. And I'm not doing it right now without my leg working the way I want.
Well, we'll certainly hope to kind of chat with you a little bit as we go through the hour session here. Maybe talk a little bit about some tips and tricks and things that you can do, and things that questions that you can ask your prosthetist or your provider. so that you can make sure you get what you need. We'll go through and kind of make sure that we give everybody a chance to introduce themselves.
All right. One question though. Are you in physical therapy right now?
No, I am not. When I first got my amputation, I did physical therapy in-house at a hospital here we have called Sea Pines. That's a rehab hospital. And then when I got out and got my leg, when I was in Sea Pines, I didn't have a leg. When I got out and got my leg, I went and did some more physical therapy with my leg, and I did pretty good, but it's because the parallel bars, I felt much more secure. I could hold on and all that. So I'm not right now. So if I get my new knee, I plan on going back into therapy to have some more. Apparently there's a new guy in town, well, near where I live, that specializes in amputations and is really good. So I figured I would give him a shot.
Yeah. Where do you live?
I live in Melbourne, Florida, near the Space Center.
Okay. That's right. I think I overheard that at the beginning. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Ben. I see you chatted
Hello.
in. And you're gonna be up next to introduce yourself.
Okay.
So go right ahead.
Oh, me? Yeah, my name's Ben. I'm originally from, Bremer prosthetic area, but I moved down to Indianapolis, Indiana, where I live now. And other than that, I mean, like, I've been an amputee for, since 2017. I met Scott, I think, late 2018 or early 2019, and I'm still going to work with them even though I'm living down here in Indianapolis. I love them, and I love what they do with this, all of us.
All right.
Nice to meet you, Ben.
Nice to meet you.
How are your holidays, Ben?
Pretty good. I'm in a weight loss challenge right now at my current job. We're doing the Biggest Loser here at the dealership where I work. Sadly, I'm one of the bigger ones because of being off work for a while, but it's going pretty good so far. I got to get my life back on track.
We're glad you came today.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, looks like next we have Sean, who just popped up on the screen. Hi, Sean.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Well, next week I will be an amputee as of 1 year, below the knee, right knee. And just kind of, it's been a difficult journey, just learning to rewalk again. Kind of when I was in the middle of it, back in late October, early November, found out that I needed triple bypass surgery. So had that done November 30th, and I'm still recovering from that.
So how have things been with your prosthesis? How are you getting around?
I get around very well. I'm waiting for the second one. I back in, I guess, early October, I was tested and I moved up to a K3. So they'll be making me a new leg. But the thing is, right now, it's after at the end of this month, I start cardiac rehab. Because of the operation, I'm a little bit retaining. I have a lot of fluids and stuff, so there's no sense of doing anything right now until everything starts to shrink again.
And where are you from, Sean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm from Southern New Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. And did he say whether you were above the knee or below the knee?
Below the knee.
Below the knee.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And like we said before, we're going to give everybody a chance to kind of introduce themselves quickly here, and then we'll kind of open up for questions. So next we'll go to Drew, who just came on. Drew, if you can hear us, if you could maybe unmute yourself and give a quick introduction, or if you choose not to, we can move on, but okay. Hi, Drew.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so I'm an AK. I've been having a lot of issues with socket fit for the last 2.5 years. The main problem is they built me a socket, and within a couple of hours, like 1 hour or 30 minutes or so and so, the socket actually seems to rotate. It's not the liner or the limb. We marked it with a Sharpie, and it just seems to rotate, or my limb starts to pull out of the socket, and it's just been going on for like over 2.5 years with multiple actually processes, and nobody really has an idea of why it's happening. And I just go to follow up appointments every week. They try to make adjustments, and I leave, then the problems come back, and I wait another 2 weeks or so. When the actually prosthetic device usually just sits in my corner at the moment and stuff, and then I go back. Yeah, I'm really not sure what could be done, or what's wrong, or what are things I could try to help get the limb to stay within the socket. At So that's kind of where I am, and I'm just open to suggestions. I'm not sure it's flabby skin causing, or the sockets aren't being built right, or what's going on. And yeah, I'm just not even sure where to start, and I'm kind of just running out of things to try at this point before I have to attempt the osteo integration surgery, which yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to work either.
So you said this has been going on for 2.5 years?
Yeah.
Now, have you had different sockets during that time period? Or have
Yeah,
you
I
been
had.
working-
I don't know. I had about 6 different sockets. I've been to about 5 or 6 actually different processes that all. Yeah, yeah. So I've been around.
Have they tried different ways of holding it on, Drew? Have they tried different suspension methods?
Yeah, they tried suction, which seemed not work too well with my limb, I guess. The limb's only about like 10 inches or 12 inches. So the suction just seems to fall off automatically. And I tried the pin lock. The pin lock seems to secure it, but they can't stop the socket from rotating throughout the day.
Has
We weren't
anyone
even
ever
talking
tried?
about. Yeah, so
sorry.
then we tried. Yeah, so then we tried like a lanyard system, and it all does the same thing.
What about a belt? Like with the pin or something like that?
Nobody's tried a belt to physically strap it. No.
There's something, and it's really simple. It's called a TES belt. If you can really, it's like a neoprene type of belt. You can attach it right to the socket, and it goes around the waist. That could help with, especially if you have a short limb, it could help with consistency of the foot placement during ambulation, but it can also help a lot with rotation. I mean, that's a good combination, especially if you didn't have success with suction. So maybe ask the prosthetist about that next time you go back to him.
Another question I had, Drew, does it always seem to rotate the same way?
Yeah, I would say about 95% it goes out to the left.
It goes out.
5%. Yeah. Yeah. Turning out. I'm turning out to the left. Like the biggest part. Once in a while, it would turn in to the right. But it turns out like from the center point within about 1 hour or so, I guess it turns out like probably to about like 50 to 60 degrees from center. So it's a big,
right.
So it's a big change,
right.
and it's a big change, and you're trying to walk even with a cane at that point, you almost fall down, and you're almost actually dragging the foot at that point.
Right. Does it usually happen while you're walking, or does it happen sitting?
Usually it seems to happen when I'm actually sitting. So when I'm actually sitting, then the rotator is turned, I guess. It seems to actually rotate at that point. Then when I get up, and it just starts to go downhill from there.
I definitely like Scott's initial suggestion of trying a belt for something simple, just to kind of see if that checks that box off for you. If not, there are certainly some other ideas and methods that that we'd be happy to kind of dig in deeper with you if that still wasn't something. But especially if it's happening mainly when you sit down. You know, if you think about it, when you stand up, we can only make the socket so tight so that when you're standing up and you have your weight on it, that all of your tissue is inside of that socket. When you sit down, now all of a sudden it's automatically looser every time when your weight's not on it. So you sit down, sitting in a chair, there's a lot of things that can happen that can kind of cause that socket to want to lose perspective. So there's a lot of little tips and tricks that could be employed that might help you out.
Okay. I'd follow up with him about it and see where it goes.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Next, we'll let Cynthia introduce herself.
Hello, Cynthia.
Cynthia, if you're trying to talk, you're on mute. So if you could unmute your phone.
I thought I heard her for a
second. I thought I heard her for a second too. Yep. Right. And hi, Cynthia.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I actually just saw you online. Actually, I've been thinking about the exercise programs, and I just thought I would step in and see what the forum's about.
Oh, great. Where are you from, Cynthia?
I'm from Michigan.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Great place to be from.
Yeah, I love Michigan. Yep. Great. I'm a 14-year amputee and pretty active. I am retired. Do lots of things. I'm hoping at some point in my life to be able to get the osseointegration, but I don't know if I'll be eligible or not.
Okay. So, do you have lots of problems with your prosthesis?
No, not so much. Not real. I think anybody's amputated. You have good weeks, bad weeks. You have good days. You have bad days. You have 3 months where you think you won some sort of fabulous lottery, and then you wake up one day and realize, oh wait, it didn't really win. But I think between yourself and your prosthetist, it's like the relationship between yourself and your dentist. It's lifelong.
No, that's absolutely true.
And if a dentist can't fit you, it would be the same thing. But I've actually been I've been really fortunate. I started out with one company, and after 2 years, I realized that my first 2 years were real rough. But that company's no longer in business, and I'm with a pretty cool company now. So, but I just think this is a lifelong learning process. And even if you're really good, you have to keep striving for great.
Yeah, right. I mean, right, you want to tell your story about when we went down to see when we met Bob Gailey? And I think that's pretty fitting, in terms of like the lifelong learning and just constantly trying to improve, right?
I mean, what was that, 2015, I think it was?
Right around that.
So
right.
I've been an amputee for probably 22 years at that point in time, or about 22 years. And we went to a running seminar, and I'm a pretty active amputee. Didn't really run so much at the time. I could run short distances, like up and down a basketball court, but I wasn't a long distance runner. And anyway, Bob was going over some different techniques, hip rotation and things like that. And they found out that I was actually really weak in one area with the hip rotation. And, after that, I kind of took up distance running and doing triathlons and all kinds of stuff. And I was like,
and he was already somebody that from the outside, anybody that would have looked at him thought he'd achieved it all. I mean, even us in a clinical standpoint would have looked at Scott and said, boy, this guy's doing everything. There's really not any nits to pick here. He's got it. And, he finds one little muscular correction to make, and it kind of opened up.
Kind of changed my gait, how I walked, how I did everything, and what I viewed, even what changed what I thought my limitations were at the time. So yeah, it's definitely, I like the way you said that. It's a lifelong journey. So there's always things.
Download I downloaded Bob Gailey's manual.
Yeah.
I never quit trying to learn. I never quit trying to get better because unfortunately, as we age, I don't like to say we aren't normal. We are normal, but a person with our situations as we age, things it's kind of like a car. Things fall apart. So
Well, different challenges,
have to work
right?
harder.
Yep.
We have to work harder. And I think Bob Gailey, I think he's right on track. And exactly what you said today. I was at physical therapy this afternoon for hip rotation because of being on crutches so many years of my life. I tend to rotate back. And how I know that is when you go to take a step, that step feels short. You feel like you can't quite stretch and ambulate as far. And that's one of my triggers. When I start saying, okay, I'm short stepping, then I know I've rotated back. And that is until I was taught that by my prosthetists. I've probably been like that my whole life and didn't know I was rotating back.
Yeah, it's like you try to tell people to come over the toes, and to you, it feels like, you're coming off at midfoot and it feels like you are there. And then you find, I like the way you explain that extra length where you can get that more stride in your step. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, you feel, you're short stepping, but you don't know that until someone teaches you and points out what you're going to be looking for when you walk. So yeah, that's important. But no, I'm interested in learning and I like the exercise programs I see. So I just thought I'd set in and see what comes up.
Well, thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for joining us.
All right, next we'll have Taylor. Hi, Taylor.
Hi, my name is Taylor and I am a kind of newer amputee. I lost my right leg below the knee in April due to sarcoma. So I was going through treatment the majority of last year, all the way up until from January to December. So I did physical therapy and I did get a prosthesis through that time. I just didn't, in my opinion, I don't think I excelled as fast as I wanted to. So I am on my third socket. I actually tried a test socket today and I've done really well. In December, 2 weeks after treatment, I walked a 5K and I have a running blade. So I'm looking forward to starting to run soon. I'm just kind of letting my energy levels get up and building some more strength in my hip. But I've just had a really hard time like the last 3 weeks. On Christmas Eve, I woke up and I couldn't get my leg in my socket because it was so painful. My medial tibia, the medial aspect is really prominent. So hopefully this new socket helps that. We've kind of built a release there. But yeah, I'm just working on PT and I'm a nurse at Ohio State. So I go back to work in February. I'm an operating room nurse. So I'm really nervous to be on my feet for 12 hours a day. So that's really it. I joined this because I found you guys on Facebook and I love my prosthetist. I just feel like we're not really jiving in the right way. I'm young. I was a college athlete and I just feel like my needs really aren't being met. So I'm kind of looking to find somewhere else to go to kind of help me progress.
Okay. And I mean, it's really important, obviously, to feel like you have a trusting relationship with your prosthetist, right? And to feel like, I mean, sometimes somebody can be what is perceived as the best. And if you don't click, if you don't mesh together, then it's not the best for you.
Right.
So that's something that you definitely should feel empowered in terms of going out and finding the right person.
Well, I like what I'm hearing. It sounds like you said you were a college athlete, living an active lifestyle is a priority, to you, and the fact that you're not willing to settle and you're willing to look outside of that. As long as you continue to advocate for yourself, I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for. So where are you from?
Columbus, Ohio.
I thought you said, oh yeah,
Yep, I work for Ohio State. I'm sure that's not everybody's favorite place that's on this call.
We're fine with that.
Yeah, we're not. We're not with the other people.
But yeah, it's just been tough. I'm hoping this new leg. I started in a pin, which I liked, but my leg was just it was my first leg. It was just so swollen. I lost volume so fast. And then I had like a ton of pressure on the bottom of my stump in that socket. So now I'm in a suction, but I'd really like to move to like a vacuum assisted. That's kind of my goal. Once I go back to work.
How long have you said you were saying the vacuum, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you were saying you were hoping to move to a vacuum. How long has it been again since that you've been using a prosthesis?
I got my amputation in April, and I got my first leg in beginning of July. Then I got my second leg in September. And I switched to the suction like sleeve system. And then now I'm getting my third socket. And I've had 2 different feet. I have the Flower All Pro now as my everyday foot. I love it. And then I have like I think it's a Autobach or Osser. It's like a heel adjustable height foot. I don't wear that one as much though.
Okay.
But my goal is vacuum. My leg is kind of starting to stabilize in volume, not like completely, but I'm not like going from up a 5-ply every week like I've been consistently.
Sure.
So I'm hoping once it stabilizes a little bit more.
Real quick, Taylor, we're both strong advocates of vacuum assisted socket or suspension. We think it's fantastic. We are big advocates of doing it too early.
Right.
Okay.
So the importance of it is, and you're talking about your residual limb is going through a lot of change. And I mean, you're still in the first year, and it takes 2 years really to get to the point where you can maximize everything you can do on the prosthetic limb. But what vacuum is going to do, even suction, a lot of times you start people out in pin because we're trying to control, how much volume, changes and fluctuations there's going to be. And sometimes you got to go to suction earlier. You're active too on top of that. So that's going to put that under magnifying glass. You're gonna see those changes happening even more rapidly. But the thing is, with vacuum, that's gonna intensify that even more than what the environment's gonna be with suction. So if you do that too early, people have, instead of it being 5-ply socks, you could see a swing from 10 to 12-ply socks. Nate and I both worked with these systems when they first came out into the market. And back then with the people who developed the technology, they said, don't put people in vacuum if they haven't worn a prosthetic limb for at least 2 years. They don't really discuss that as much anymore because now people are just, there was one company who was making them and they were really specializing on that. And now everybody's got their own vacuum pump and you don't hear as much of that. But just for whatever it's worth, that's something Nate and I, because of our experience with it, it was something that could be a great system for you a year and a half down the road from now. You might try early and then say, oh, that didn't work for me, and rule that out because you tried it too soon.
Right. The other thing with the vacuum is sometimes it doesn't give you, when you're kind of learning the fit and learning how to adjust the fit, it doesn't give you time to react to that. It magnifies those small problems, and by the time you notice it and you take your prosthesis off, you have a blister on your limb that's the size of your limb. So it can really make problems, really small problems, become very big problems quickly for you when your leg is changing. So that not to not to say that we don't think it's a great system. We fit lots and lots and lots of people with vacuum. It's just that little asterisk to kind of try to let the process patiently work itself through. And not kind of push for things before you're ready for it.
You want to stabilize your limb in that suction environment, and kind of adapt to that and condition your limb to that before you go to vacuum.
Right. Now your prosthetist may decide that vacuum's great for you and you might be successful, and we're nothing but happy about that if that's the case. But we just want to kind of put that out there so that you've heard it.
Oh, that's great information. Yeah, once I got diagnosed, I had to get on Medicaid because I wasn't working. So my insurance doesn't even cover it right now. But once I go back to work, my insurance will. So that's kind of something we've been talking about. But that's kind of the goal my prosthetist had for me, like in the future.
Got it.
I'm just not happy with where we're, like, the progress we're making now. Like, I just feel like I'm not progressing enough. So I thought maybe that would help. And I'm also nervous to go back to work and stand on my feet for 12 hours a day. So that plays a big role. But yeah, I've never had a blister or anything. So I definitely don't want to switch too soon and then cause issues that I haven't had.
Yeah, and especially if you're transitioning with insurance, don't think that you're not advancing as fast as you can because you don't have that technology right now. It's just that first year, it's really you're just getting used to those changes. And again, the more active you are, the more, the more dramatic those changes are going to be. So.
Okay, well, thank you, Taylor. Next we'll have RC.
Hello.
Hi.
I will be, my 1 year will be March 10th. I'm an AK. I'm out in northern Arizona, so I actually have snow. I have finally found winter boots that fit, that I can actually walk in. I went through, actually just left my prosthetist office and started with a new one last week. Due to, not that they were a bad office, we just didn't mesh. I've actually been disabled. Well, I got on Social Security officially in 2009, and my amputation is elective. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and all the comorbidities and then some. So I've been difficulty trying to find liners that work because I'm allergic to silicone, or I should say straight silicone. I can do mixtures. And I think I finally found a place that's tweaking it. I've been in a lanyard system since May. I despised it, still do. I am actually starting with a modified suction. I'll pick it up Friday if I can get down the mountain. You never know with the snow in Arizona. And we have people that, do not know how to drive in snow who think they do. So they come up and pull on the side of the highway to play in the snow. But I'm ironically, for 15 years of not being able to really use my leg, I have been able to start hiking already. I have 5 sockets since May. I actually started with 3D printed sockets. And we joke, instead of nesting dolls, I have nesting sockets because they literally all fit inside one of each other. And so I've been dealing with the problem of the foot issue because they wanted to put me with a very low, I actually tested out as a K3, borderline of a K4, but we all know, insurance doesn't want that. So currently have a Oser Balance S foot, and I hate it because I can't move. I don't feel like I can move in it. I'm used to a very weak and hypermobile ankle. So, and I pivot a lot and I bake a crap ton. And I did that. I had my socket, my last one, for 5 months. It was great. I was walking unassisted, with some exceptions since I live in the mountains. Did all my Christmas baking, and all of a sudden the socket doesn't fit. And I was getting extreme bone pain. And then, so I've really hardly worn my leg at all since Christmas, other than when I absolutely had to. So I'm kind of excited, anxious for Friday to come so I can see what this new fit is. So besides a suction, it's also going to be a hi-fi socket. I really have no clue what to expect because this was actually my first time even being casted. As I said, everything was scanned and 3D printed. But I tried, a friend of mine gave me his all-pro foot because he only wears a blade, even for his job. And I actually walked better on the all-pro and even tried the levitate, but it was 3 millimeters too high. But I could actually walk better and more fluid. So we're trying to figure out if I should go to an all-pro, go to like the Proteor, is it the Rush or Road? Yeah.
Rush, right.
So I think we're going to test one of those out. I have the Quattro knee and I absolutely love it. Stumble recovery is great when I can't feel the rocks. and all that good stuff. I started out with the Oser Rio XC. It's an iPhone product, so I won't touch it. I was like, give me something else. I will not own Apple. I'm a disability specialist and I work remotely. Apple is the worst company if you have a disability to work for. And so I'm very, just I want to do what works. I want to get moving. I want to get out there. I live in a gorgeous part of the state. And I mean, I have a multiple trails less than a half a mile from my house. And so I'm trying to get back up, get moving. And everybody, of course, thought I was crazy because I wanted to cut my leg off.
Yeah, you said now you pivot, you turn a lot. You said for baking and some of those things. Have you ever had a torsion adapter added?
I haven't.
Something that pivots?
They haven't done that yet with me. I'll have to mention that to the guys on Friday because I'm just at the point. I used to dog train.
Okay, so the Rush Rogue does offer some turn, but I would look at maybe like even an independent one, something that's not integrated into a foot. The ones that are integrated into feet, they do offer some capabilities for torsion, but they're very limited compared to some of the the other like additive components that would offer torsion are just going to offer a lot less restriction in those turns, especially if you're in tight spaces and doing those things. And with that Quattro knee, that could be a kind of a real game changer for you.
That sounds like a great idea because I love that I can walk backwards without falling. I mean, I have the one fur ball here who insists on being right next to me. Even when I'm up and walking, the dog, the other cat just stops dead in the middle of the road. But yeah, I'm used to being around and working with horses and dogs and training. And I'm like, I want to get back to this. I've been on crutches for over 15 years. This last year was actually the first year that I put away the crutches. So I just want to, everybody's, because I've been on disability, but now my whole life is changing in that sense. So I'm looking at what's going to allow me that freedom to keep moving. And losing 30 pounds has been great too.
That's also, and congratulations on that. That's when you can start moving, it really helps with that, doesn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad to hear. Thanks for sharing your story. And we'd like to hear some updates, whether you post on on our Facebook group or, if you come to another one of these, let us know how things are going because, when we hear people kind of starting their stories and, looking for things, we like to hear how things end up for them.
Things progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely will do. I'm waiting to see if I qualify for the CAF grant for the running knee and the blade. And then we actually have a run clinic. They claim Phoenix. I'm pretty sure it's up north. So I'm, crossing fingers and hoping that I can go to that as well.
Who hosts the run clinic?
Levitate.
Okay.
It's Levitate.
Right. Very good.
So
very good.
I think they're waiting on Northern Arizona University to, if the field's available.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. Next, we'll let Victor introduce himself. Hi, Victor.
Hey, guys. Hey, everybody. I'm a RBK, September 25th of last year. Got my prosthetic leg and everything. Don't ask me what kind it is. All I know is she said that it was expensive. I mean, I don't know. But it's not doing any good. Just sitting in my closet. I've got a sore on the tip of the inside of my stub. Went to my surgeon today. She's giving it 6 more weeks, and then they're going to try to do some kind of artificial cover to put on it, skin cover or something like that. And then hopefully I'll be on my way to where I can walk in my leg and stuff. I've actually walked maybe 2 weeks in it. And in that time, I mean, my leg has shrunk a lot since I first started. But I mean, the problem that I was always having with it is not knowing when to put socks on and stuff like that. My knee would actually go down into the top of the socket. So I don't know. It's all new to me. It's different. I've been in a wheelchair since May of last year. So.
Well, first, I'd like to say very sorry to hear that you got a wound and that it's, probably sounds, fairly serious, so early on. That is a tough thing, learning how to manage the fit of your prosthesis when you're first getting started. The one thing I wanted to kind of circle back to was what you very first started with, and you said that, you didn't know what your prosthesis was, but you knew it was an expensive one. It's just kind of the tale that no matter what components that we as prosthetists, as clinicians pick for you, the fit of that socket, the way that it fits to your body is going to be your key to success. And it's so much more important than the components that are attached to it. Once you have a great fit, now we have to really focus in on those components and make sure you have the right ones. But until that time comes, sometimes simple and basic is better when you're just learning.
I mean, we were talking earlier, I think it was to Taylor. Sometimes you build your way up to some of these other components, and some starting out with some things that are too high tech at the beginning can actually hinder you. What you need to be learning early on is how to manage that fit. You had mentioned, when to add socks. Physical therapy can be good with that. You should be getting some instruction from the prosthetist, but a lot of times if you're going to physical therapy, you can be going there 2-3 times a week. So you might be seeing them more than your prosthetist. But having a good fit to start out with, managing the fit, that's really the foundation to success, with the prosthetic limb. Did you say that you're not wearing the prosthesis now, but they were going to do the fabrication of the cover and skin?
No, they're going to do a skin graft on his wound.
Oh, a skin graft on the wound. Okay, I just heard skin and I thought,
right.
Because obviously it sounds like there's still some socket fit issues that may need to be addressed first. So once you're, go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's just it. I mean, before we stopped, before we said no more on the leg or on the prosthetic, I would have trouble here at the house, but then when I would go to my prosthetist office, I mean, I'd put my leg on or my prosthetic on and everything, and it would be fine. I mean, I wouldn't have any issues at all. But as soon as 2 hours later, when I got home and put it back on, I was having trouble with it. It felt like I had a lot of bottom pressure. Not that the bottom of my leg was down in it all the way. It was just pressure. I'd have pressure on my the bone. And I mean, it's just one thing after another. But then, I mean, my prosthetist would be like, well, come in. It doesn't matter. Just come in. And I'd go in and would put it on, and she'd spend 2 hours with me and nothing. I mean, I was walking in the parallel bars without holding on to it, walked all around the office area and wouldn't have any issues at all. And that's unassisted without a walker or anything. But then as soon as I left, that's when all my issues would start back up. And it's every time. And I mean, yeah, she put on a sock, and when I first started and everything, we tried a sock, and it worked. I mean, there was no pain or anything else. And then I got home and I tried the same thing, and then it was still, my knee was going all the way down into the socket. And people were telling me, that's my knee shouldn't be down into the socket, that it should be right at the edge of it. So, and I mean, like I would tell them, I have no idea what it's supposed to do. So,
sometimes we have situations like that and somebody's wearing the leg and there's dramatic changes throughout the day. And I'm sure you guys probably tried this, but maybe you wearing it for a few hours before you go in to see the prosthetist and having an appointment later in the afternoon or something so they can see. Another thing to mention, we lose volume and the leg becomes smaller in circumference, but also when we lose volume, we lose soft tissue at the bottom. And the way you're mentioning that your knee is going into the socket too far, and particularly if you got a bigger residual limb, I can't see her, so I'm just giving you a hypothetical here. But if you're losing some of that soft tissue at the bottom of your limb, and now it's not there, and you got a void at the bottom of the socket, and you're sinking in too far, that's going to be a different set of circumstances. So I don't know if there's an opportunity for you to wear the leg for a few hours before, and obviously you're on hold now, but while you're troubleshooting that, if something like that might be helpful, but or maybe just if you guys find out that it is something at the bottom, things that you can add,
right?
Like tech spots or something
or
else.
sometimes it comes down to when you're first starting out, really kind of managing a wearing schedule and using the prosthesis for an hour at a time in the morning, and then putting it back on for an hour in the afternoon, and kind of instead of going then increasing that slowly with success, instead of kind of
so
just
you can control
going for it, right? So that you're able to kind of take the prosthesis off, monitor your limb, make sure that your skin's in good condition, and do things like that. So there's lots of options. And I guess, again, like we've said with everybody, we'd be real interested to hear back from you once you're cleared to get back in your leg and you're going again. How are things going, and kind of what are you doing to troubleshoot, and how could we help?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last person we have to introduce would be Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
I think we have to go back to Steve.
Hello.
Hey, Lynn.
How's everything?
Good.
How you doing?
I'm awesome. I just want to say thank you so much for having this type of a meeting. It's amazing because it's so important to have that communication between the amputee and the prosthetist. So I do want to say thank you for that. I'm a prosthetist. I am a host of Lynn's Amputee Chat Room, where we have 2 meetings. And, I know some of the people in this group, but I just actually finished up with the prosthetic exam. I actually am a patient. I was a patient model there. So it was a lot of fun for the past 3 days. But
how's our next generation of prosthetists looking?
They're doing good.
Good.
Yeah, they're doing well. Especially since they changed it from bachelor's. So, but everything was good. Everybody had fun. So, but I just wanted to come on and say hello. I've been on when your other prosthetists have been on. I forget their names.
Mentioned that. Abby and Kat. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but if anybody has, any questions for me, I'm an above the knee amputee for 30 years, and my prosthetist got me involved in prosthetics. So it's been a fun ride for 27 years.
Well, the same thing goes, Lynn. If we're talking here and you have anything that you think that you could add, please don't hesitate.
No, I appreciate that. Actually, I wanted to say the whole time about the advice that you gave to Taylor about the vacuum system, especially with her starting a new job. I mean, that was really good advice to just hold off for now until she gets, kind of settled and her limb matures a little bit more.
Thanks.
Yep. I think on that note, I mean, what we've really, we've done this for a couple of years now,
right? But
it's just so different as opposed to when we started with some of the stuff and the instructions that they would give. And now they just kind of gloss over things and they don't discuss key things. And if you haven't been around long enough to know, no one's telling people these things. And if you're a newer prosthetist, you could be struggling with something that really is just, given that, and like we were even talking to Victor, just different ways to get your limb to condition to that environment and stabilize. I mean, technology's come a long way and it's done a lot of great things, but we emphasize, and we said it, I think once early, it takes 2 years to really stabilize that limb so you can maximize what you can do on the prosthesis. One thing technology hasn't been able to do is accelerate that process. Right. It's something we all have to go through. So what we like to do, and you said thanks for having these meetings, but amputees are less than 1% of the population. The idea isn't for us to sit here and tell everyone what we think, that we know all the answers, but to get a forum where people can share their ideas and different things and just, have different avenues to try to go to advocate for their own, success in prosthetics. Like you said about the Bob Gailey thing earlier, I found since I lost my leg and I started working in prosthetics, I always wanted to get different forums and things like that to get people together and get talking about stuff. And Nate's heard me say this time and time again, and you've observed it. So many times I would walk into these situations and like once a year I learn something. And I've been doing this for over 30 some odd years. It's like, there's no such thing as the expert. Somebody said, earlier, we keep on learning. This is a life's journey, right? This is what we go through. And as we get older, we're going to have different challenges and, at different phases of life. So, a forum like this is just, I love hearing other people's experiences and how they adapt to things and what that's like. So, hopefully it's working that way for everyone. And that's what they're getting out of this.
Great. And we'll circle around. And Steve, we never actually, you were the first one on, but we didn't get your introduction. So now you get the whole group.
Okay. Hi, my name's Steve. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a left below the knee. My surgery was in July of this last year. I got my first prosthetic in October. Getting my second prosthetic or second leg come March. I'm in a pin lock now, going to elevated suction. They know me very well. I'm stubborn, hard-headed, never did a day of physical therapy, but that's not good. I prefer physical therapy, but I did the first week I had my prosthetic, I did 21,000 steps in one day, 6 miles. I average anywhere from 15 to 20,000 steps a day, anywhere from 5 to 7 miles a day.
Right.
So I'm very active and everything. And I do help Lynn. I'm Lynn's administrator. I help her run her group and page.
Very good.
Well, I know when we closed Step Up, you were still kind of getting going with things and we knew you were active. I was just wondering, looking forward to hearing how things were progressing for you.
Yeah, the only thing I forgot to tell you, right before Christmas, I did have an issue with my socket. My tibia was hitting the front of my socket and it tore my legs off because I'm a diabetic and I have diabetic neuropathy, so I don't feel nothing. And my tibia was rubbed and it tore my skin apart. I had to go have some padding added into my socket. So they did add padding, made some minor adjustments. So far, so good.
Oh, yeah, good. Good to hear. Yep. So that's why, that regular, especially when you can't feel things, that's just that regular checking your skin is going to go a long way, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Every morning, every afternoon, every night, even every time I take my leg off, I check around the whole thing because when you have no feeling with the diabetic, you don't feel nothing. So you don't know what's going on.
Right. And your limb is going to go through these changes that first year. So that visual inspection is especially as active as you are, that's going to be a very important part of, you monitoring, the health of your limb is, you're going to have to rely on more on what you see than what you feel. And we do see that quite a bit. It's a real thing. So just stay on top of that.
Yeah. Thank you. And the only reason why I joined this group technically was because of Bear. No.
Right.
If anybody knows what
we'll get Bear. We bait and switched you, Steve. Yeah. We didn't mean to do it. But
okay. I promise you, we'll get Bear on the camera here at some point in the next, probably not the next one because
it probably won't be us.
Probably won't be us, one, right? Yeah. Every time I promised you Bear, I deliver. So
there we go.
All right.
So now that we've done the introductions, does anybody have any, follow-up questions? Anybody have anything that they want to, add to somebody else's story or anything? We'll kind of open the floor up a little bit.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep, we sure can.
Okay, my question is, I know I've been amputated a long time, but you were talking about 1% of the population being an amputee. I'm below the right knee. I also am a 1.5% 0.5% of the population, I have something called linear scleroderma. So my right limb is very tiny, very sore. I'm hearing all the folks saying how many steps they're getting. And of course, that big envious thing just pops out all over on me. I guess one of my questions is, I hope our next chat we can kind of talk about feet, because I'm learning more about that. But when we're talking and we say suction or vacuum or elevated vacuum, could you explain, like, what's the difference between suction vacuum and elevated vacuum, and what's the correct terminology on those?
Sure. So, elevated vacuum and vacuum are going to be the same thing.
Yep.
Those are
Okay.
just kind of terms so those two are going to be the same thing.
Okay.
So suction is when you use a suspension sleeve, typically something that would go out,
Okay.
prosthesis on your thigh, and then there would be a one valve in the socket that lets the air come out of the socket and not come back in. So you're able to push all the air so that you're making an airtight seal between your limb and the socket. And that suspension sleeve, typically, there are a couple other ways to do it, but the more traditional way is to do it with a suspension sleeve.
In the one-way valve.
And the one-way valve. And so that usually gets, and the numbers don't really matter, but you want to think of it on a scale. That one-way valve usually gets about 1.5 inches mercury of pressure, of force that would hold that limb on, hold the socket onto your limb. With external vacuum, there's actually another piece or a part that sucks the air out. So it's not just using your body and gravity to push the air out. It actually has something connected that would draw the air out, either mechanically.
You'd say the one-way valve would allow the air to escape.
Yep.
This other one's going to draw.
It's going to actually pull,
creating more of a.
So this would, and these can draw up to 20 inches of mercury. So the difference between 20 inches of mercury of pressure and 1.5 inches mercury of pressure. So it really just reduces the movement between your limb and the socket a lot.
And I think they said, what, 8 is when you start to get a vacuum,
Yep.
and 14 they talk about. Then they start to talk about, wicking moisture out of the socket, and there's other things. So when we get into the numbers, it's just different things that can happen at different points. But the main thing is, the one allows the air to escape, the other one draws and creates more negative pressure inside the socket chamber, so you can increase that amount of millimeters of mercury or that negative pressure inside of the socket.
And so you can see why the fit with the elevated vacuum, or the vacuum, becomes so critical, is that pressure is enough to, if there was a void in the socket, a place where your limb isn't touching the socket wall, that vacuum is strong enough that it's going to pull your skin and try to use that force to fill that void. And it's going to pull you into that area. And that's when those blisters and those kind of complications can come up. Now, when your socket is fit well, I mean, a lot of people really, really like that system.
Exactly.
Again, not 100%. An extra part means extra weight. So a vacuum pump is going to add weight to your prosthesis. A lot of people say they don't feel that weight. Some people say they do.
Well, when you get to the thing with suction, if you go from a pin to suction, people say, oh, the leg feels lighter, even though it may be heavier, you might have a different foot. But if you get better linkage or you get a better suspension system, things can feel lighter when they may actually even be heavier. And that's one of the benefits of, you are adding more weight with the vacuum pump. It might feel lighter if the fit's good, but not everyone has the same experience or the same feedback. I mean, the thing is, all these are custom made, and we're all different, and our experience on the prosthetic limb is different. That's why we don't like when people say, well, this elevated vacuum is the best. That's not true. Like, there's, for someone else, the best is what works for you. And if, and some people might love a pin system, you don't want to fall into that trap of what's best is what, if you're to the point in life where you don't feel like you have limitations on the prosthetic limb, and you're doing the things that you want to do, and you're living the lifestyle you want, and you're not getting skin breakdown in your residual limb, you're winning. You don't go through some of these changes unless you're maybe trying to do some more advanced things that you haven't tried before. And like I was talking, I started running at a late, after 45 years old. So circumstances might change where you want to do that, but we don't like the terminology of something being the best, because they're all different, because we're all different.
Okay. Yeah, I'm dealing with 2 blisters right now on the very bottom from the pull. And the magic thing that it's, you're always working as an amputee. Always. I mean, my experiences, the cotton makeup rounds that you use in the drugstore to take your makeup off, I found if I put wads of those in the base, I'm in an Oster product. I that will it fills in that area between my limb and the socket and that pulling because I have so little tissue from the scleroderma and a very small limb. So what you were saying to the other person concerned about the vacuum, that's why I wanted to clarify. Even in my mind, the vacuum, the suction, the elevated vacuum. I love my socket. I put on the minute I get up because that's how my brain works. I like to be busy, but I'm out of it right now because of the pulling on the base. So yeah.
And that's something that, if you're doing that routinely in terms of like adding the material at the bottom of the socket, that's something that you could, go into your prosthetist and have them make an adjustment and maybe make something a little bit more lasting and, more just something that would be more consistent and the same every time that you put it on, and that could help too. There are even some like different materials and foams that we can kind of pour into the socket and then have you step into it, and they kind of expand and fill those little areas and make sure that the void is eliminated. So there's lots of solutions for kind of that looseness at the bottom that could be a little bit more. Like I said, I understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's just we worry about things that aren't the same every single time because they could, it only takes one time for it to lead to a problem, right?
Exactly.
I do want to I see that RC put a question in the chat about our thoughts on a skin fit suction socket. What skin fit suction is something that we do fit. I do think highly of it in the right cases. One thing two things that it's really not going to be good for. If your leg is changing size a lot, it's not going to be a good option for you because as your leg shrinks through the day, you're going to lose contact with the socket and the socket. With skin fit suction socket, it's either very good suspension or it's no suspension, as in like falling off your leg. So that's number one. And then number two is if you're, very active and perspiration or perspiration is an issue in the socket. That perspiration is going to act as kind of a wick that's going to break that suction between your limb and the socket.
Was RC the transfemoral? That was the issue.
Yep, with the rotation.
Something I don't know if the prosthetist or anyone you're working with too as familiar with, but there's a double socket wall system, which can be good in those. I don't know. It's not something everyone has experience with, but because I was thinking of skin fit suction when they were talking. And again, these are things that if you're good at it and you know the application, it can be but Nate was saying there's a lot of other circumstances. With the double socket wall, you actually have more adjustability with socks and stuff.
It's true. It's very fabrication intensive, and it's something that, again, is not going to be for everybody.
But you could ask about it.
But you could definitely ask about it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of that, and I didn't want to complicate
the same thing here.
But since you brought up the skin fit suction, because I was thinking about that, it sounds like you're either discussing with your prosthetist different options or looking into options on your own. Right. So it certainly wouldn't hurt to explore those. So.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any final questions for us? Our hour's up, but we're happy to take any questions if anybody still has any. Okay. Well, I guess we'll thank everyone for coming today. Really appreciate your attendance and appreciate your time. Hopefully this was helpful. We will be doing another one of these, and it'll be coming back out on the email. That one will be hosted by Abby and Cassie again, who are lovely and just a wealth of knowledge in their own regard.
Yep.
So we want to speak very highly of them and the information that they're going to provide.
You'll probably be glad to be back with them.
Right. So, all right. But so we're going to sign off and we look forward to seeing everybody again.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having us
very
again,
much.
guys.
Bye, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
See you, Lynn. See you, Steve.
Take care, Sean.
You
Lynn,
too,
I'll
buddy.
see you later.
All right. You guys be safe.
Thank
See you
you.
later.